Fair Board meeting. I'm going to go ahead and call it to order and read the legal notice. Is information for our audience. If you're not satisfied with the decision made by the Metropolitan Board of Fair Commissioners today, you may appeal the decision by petitioning for a writ of cert with the Davidson County Chancery or Circuit Court. Your appeal must be filed within 60 days of the date of entry of the board's decision. To ensure that your appeal is filed in a timely manner and that all procedural requirements have been met, please be advised that you should contact your own independent legal counsel. I'll go ahead and call the meeting to order and ask for approval of the minutes from the previous meeting.
Move to approve the minutes as written.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, and so the minutes of the meeting of February 8th, 2022 stand approved. We will now open the floor for public comment time. Is there anybody wishing to speak? Seeing no one, we'll move on to monthly reports and move to the financial report. Cetrice.
Good morning, everyone. The financial information presented today is preliminary, and all revenue and expenses for February 2022 may not have been recorded to the ledgers as of March 7th, 2022, when this report was created. The preliminary actuals through February 2022 are as follows. Revenue is approximately $1.7 million. Expenditures are around $1.4 million, resulting in a net gain of approximately $306,000. Depreciation expense is $770,923. So the net loss is roughly $464,165. Below you will find an itemized list of our revenues and expenses. Our top three revenue sources are flea market booth rent, parking, and other. Flea market booth rent is around $220,000, $220,000. I'm sorry. $220,800, which is roughly 13% of our total revenue. Parking is $168,472, which is 10%. Other, which represents CDBG grant, mixed use, rent, advertising, sponsorship, fees, and interest, is $889,269, which represents 51% of our total revenue. Our top three expenses are payroll, utilities, insurance / low cap. Payroll expense is $621,800, which represents 43% of our total expenses. Utilities expense is $295,598, which is 21%. Insurance, permits, and low cap expense is $264,139, which is 18% of our total expenses. Last month, we anticipated collecting approximately $132,700 in revenue. We collected around $92,600, which is roughly a 43% shortfall. The shortfall is due to our outstanding invoices. We have $35,600 in outstanding invoices. All promoters have been contacted and invoiced. Once we receive those payments, we will have collected 97% of our projected revenues. We project for the month of March, our revenue projection is approximately $191,865. We anticipate 24% collection from flea market, 23% from Expo 1, 17% from parking. This concludes the financial report. Are there any questions?
Seeing no questions, we'll move on to the Executive Director's report. Laura?
Good morning. I just have a couple things. First off, we talked last month about the American Rescue Plan Act funds that we received for the flea market. Since that time, we have looked at how we can go about making sure that all of our current and former vendors were aware of the opportunity in the program that we're working on getting implemented, hopefully for April. So we have sent out, I think as of yesterday, Mary Ann calculated about 500 letters went out to, again, current and former vendors to introduce that program and talk about the opportunity that's going to present itself in the next couple months. So hopefully that will stimulate some additional, rentals. Also, we have a very specific outreach to diversify our vendor base. And so we have been working and identifying different agencies within Nashville and the region through the Chamber of Commerce, and then we'll also be looking at the Center for Nonprofit Management and identifying those agencies that we can reach out to send letters to, again, talk about the opportunity that the flea market provides for small businesses, whether people want to test a market on a new product or share their hobby, or, showcase their business, product, or service and give them an opportunity to participate. So that letter hopefully will go out by the end of this week, at least to the first group of agencies that we've identified. It's something that can be sent out on a routine basis. As new agencies and new opportunities present themselves, we can send them this information. I will say also that we received a Spanish translation of a couple of our documents, so that it would be helpful for some of our Hispanic and Latin partners. We'll be able to pass that on, and that service was provided to us through Casa Azafran, so we really appreciate their efforts there in translating those, and we'll be looking at other opportunities to make that information more accessible, both on our website and certainly through hard copy flyers and letters and material. So we're making progress there. The other big thing that we're working on is some procurement for our divisional fair, the Nashville Fair. So we're working with procurement on 3 things right now. One is a contract with North American Midway to provide the Carnival and Midway operations. The second is a website development and e-ticketing. That is big. There's obviously a very specific need for fairs. And so we have identified some companies. Scott's worked really hard at identifying potential companies that can design us an interactive website, get a landing page hopefully up and running by April, and handle our e-ticketing as well. And then the third procurement we are working on is an ITB, an intent to bid. We spec'd out very specific livestock panels that will be able to be used in our sheds, and so that we're proceeding with procurement with those as well. So we continue to do a lot of planning for the fair, and I know Scott's really happy because he secured a chicken coop that will be used. It's over in Expo 1. Thank you, Lawn and Garden Show, for allowing us to use their chicken coop from the Lawn and Garden Show this weekend. So that's that.
So I have one question, and then I want to talk about the Lawn and Garden Show for just a minute. I went, it was fabulous. Is it possible for you to share that list of agencies that we're sending the letter to with the Fair Board Commissions in the event that maybe one of us knows other agencies and other people that might be interested?
Sure can, happy to.
Fabulous. I have got to just give a big fat thumbs up to everybody that worked on the Lawn and Garden Show and making the transformation of this property. I don't know if any of you were here, but it was absolutely incredibly well attended. It was smooth flowing. There was lots of enthusiasm. And I walked in this morning thinking I was still going to see things. And obviously that didn't happen. And it's just extraordinary what this staff does.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Everybody worked really hard. And Lawn and Garden worked really hard yesterday at getting, as you can see, we still have a floors to do, but overall, everything's out and it went really smoothly. So thank you for that.
Okay, anybody have any questions for the director? Seeing none, we'll move on to event updates.
Well, I'm going to take this. There's not a lot of update from a calendar perspective. You've got the 3-month calendar in your packet, but I do, and I'm very pleased to introduce everyone formally to Ms. Carla Miller. She is our new event services manager, recently moved from Reno here to Nashville. So we're really thrilled to have her. Needless to say, we have a long list of priorities for Carla, but what she is doing now is diving into really understanding how we do events and coming up with some tools and some communication pathway to improve the communication pathway between what she does in corporate sales and recruiting and contracting with events and connecting that with maintenance and operations, because obviously that needs to be a well-oiled machine to do what you mentioned with the lawn and garden. In February, we had a very intense schedule. We had 19 days without a break of even a day off of active events and transitioning events in these buildings. And I've told you, for the last couple months, we're having some challenges recruiting new staff members to supplement our maintenance and operations staff. Right now, we have 3 vacancies, and so it takes all of us to roll up our sleeves, in every division here at the Fairgrounds chipped in to get events moved in and moved out so that we can transition to the next one. And so when our clients come in, they don't know that we had been here since, till 10 o'clock the night before. They just come in and they know everything is set up, how their event needs to be set up, and it's very seamless, which is, our priority for our clients is they don't need to worry about the difficulties that it takes to get set up as long as their event is smooth when they walk in the door. So I want to thank staff because it has been a really, really intense February. And without their efforts, we wouldn't have been able to pull it off.
Anybody have questions, comments? Not, we'll move on to Fairgrounds Improvement Project Stadium Mixed Use and Infrastructure Updates. Who wants to start?
Good morning, board. Good morning, staff. Good morning, council. Today's presentation on Fairgrounds Improvement budget as well as Fair Park budgets. Just want to make sure that I start off with the caveat that I do on most mornings. The budgets that you'll be seeing this morning will be about 30 to 45 days in arrears of the actual activity and work that's taking place. We'll kick us off. You all should have in your packets a page that is in color for the Fairgrounds Improvement Projects, so essentially the non-park related projects. And just want to start out by saying that overall allocation of funding is about 97% spent across all those projects. Specifically, the Expo and Expo related expenses are about 99% complete. Just over the past month, our efforts have been in, of course, reviewing accounting. We've also specifically spent time working with Skanska to review all of their scope and their accounting in preparation for closing out their contract. So that's something that we'll be moving forward with doing this month. The majority of funds remaining in the Expo section is dedicated to FF&E, upcoming purchases and expenditures. The other project that has had activity since our last board meeting is the multi-purpose or maintenance building area. We're still working to get that area fully completed. There's still some movement there, but as you can see from the budgets in front of you, we're well within our budget for that project, and of course excited to have that space fully turned over and operational. No activity has taken place in the sections regarding demolition, the grandstand, Speedway, and of course the past projects related to early demolition and master planning. If there aren't any specific questions about any of those projects, I'll move to the park related projects. All right. Well, as far as Fair Park Phase One, no activity took place there since the last report. Again, just making sure that that budget is present. There are still some funds from that early allocation that are remaining there. Very likely will be contributed as we move forward to making the entire Fair Park become a reality. As far as Park Phase Two, come before this board a few times and kind of said, give us a moment, you'll start to see those dollars start to move. We are actually now in that phase. Early dollars related to project management and design have started to hit the budget. Again, a lot of work has been done, and this by no means shows where we are, but we've just crossed the 1% threshold of the funding allocated there. So nearly $80,000 of expenditures out of the overall $7 million allocated for that project. That will quickly start to ramp up as we go into the spring and summer. So excited that that project is ready to kick off, and would open it for any questions related to that. And I know Ron will be giving some more detailed updates as it relates to the project's progress. Okay.
Thank you so much, Ron.
Thanks, Ed. Good morning, Commissioners. Yeah, to follow up on what Ed was saying, the multipurpose building is essentially complete. We're trying to get the water line connected to the infrastructure project, which put the water line in. So I think we're down to the end of that one. The Phase 2 of Fair Park, as Ed mentioned, we're going through, when that project was in concept stage, it was in 2016 before a stadium was envisioned and relocating the expo was done. So we're going through a review of the new changes and all that, and working with a construction management company, Bell Construction, to really work through all the issues that go along with that, and that's proceeding along nicely. The infrastructure project, the bridge, is about done. If you drive down Craighead, you can see the bridge. Curb and gutters going in on Brenton. And again, that's a Sports Authority project, and that's scheduled to be completed in late summer. So that's essentially the main projects that are going on right now. Do I have any questions?
Ron, as we start to approach the first soccer game, what is there sort of a plan or a protocol in place for how, I guess, construction will be sort of parked on game days to sort of welcome fans as best as possible and kind of direct them around? How have you guys thought about that?
Oh, we've thought about it a lot. And we are meeting weekly on that, and it's coming together. They're going to be, Benton Avenue is going to be under construction. And so how that works with the team and how that works with the parking and the various plans that the team has to implement on May 1. And it's really going to play for the whole month of May. And how we're going to do interim crossing of a construction zone and fencing and those kind of things. So we're spending a fair amount of time working on that. Everybody's been very cooperative, working well together. Laura's team, as well as the MLS team and others, to make sure this is going to be as smooth as possible, but it's construction right in the middle of everything, so.
Likewise, you guys are kind of same kind of ideas for racing, as racing kicks off in April, making sure that they have the cordoned off areas to get access there. We're
beginning to start that conversation, and there'll be we've been dealing with a lot of other technical issues that go along with that, but it's coming out.
Thanks.
We all know it.
Thank you.
Thank you. I do have one question. Given the changes from the original 2016 concept plan, will any changes be shared with the board at an upcoming meeting once you get all that sorted out?
We'd be happy to give you the new ones. Essentially it's the same. Originally, there was no bridge planned on Wedgwood. Actually, we've added some square footage into that area. A lot of the flood mitigation mechanisms were put in when this building was done, and then further enhanced when we did the infrastructure project. So some of that work's already been done, but cleaning up Browns Creek, adding greenways, all of that is essentially the same. You now have to cross Wedgewood, which was not planned originally. And we've got some modifications around here and there and technical issues and adding some sidewalks and that kind of stuff. So, but we'll be happy to present it to you, hopefully in the next couple of months.
That'd be great, thank you. Anyone else have questions?
Just real quick, sure.
Yeah.
I just wanted to remind everyone that we do have a special ADA accommodation to, for your question about racing and the construction since 8C is underway. They have been fantastic in making sure that they move the fence back as far as they can. So they gave us 30 feet. And so what that allowed us to do was put in 8 ADA parking spaces along the concourse side of the Speedway, which is really helpful. What it allowed us to do is have good access and drop off up there for our race fans that need that type of space, and saved us from a lot of construction within the Speedway for a temporary solution. So appreciate mixed use making that accommodation for us.
And I will point out, as things are being completed over the summer, there'll be constant modifications as we continue this communication. So, anything else? I think Mayor Cavaro is going to talk about the stadium.
Good morning, Madam Chair and Commissioners. I'm pleased to report that construction continues on track for schedule and cost. Our team has completed another major milestone with the installation of the natural grass pitch, which was completed last Friday. The seating installation is now also 100% complete. The interior work continues in the clubs and suites. And last Monday, we held a super flush to test all the plumbing, and I'm pleased to report it was quite successful and did not cause any issues in the neighborhood or anywhere else. So that was a key milestone too as well. The speakers are being tested, the ribbon boards and field boards are now functional, and it's really beginning to look like a complete stadium. So we continue to work to get the project wrapped up. Safety also continues to be a priority, and there are no injuries to report since our last meeting. And then the DBE MBE reports will probably be available next week, but our spend remains in the 36 to 37% range. And so that all continues above our contractual requirement. As others have mentioned, we continue to prepare for the opening match on May 1st. And as we talked about last time, we continue to refine our plans for parking and how we will bring all our fans here and how we work with construction. And we're preparing for information with maps and other illustrations to begin to share with neighbors, fans, this board and the Sports Authority Board later this month. And then just briefly, the mixed-use construction work on Block C also continues as planned with the various site preparation activities underway. And Dirk and his team will provide a further update at future meetings. And with that, that concludes my report. And if there's any questions, I'd be pleased to answer them.
Thank you so much for that report. Any questions? Not a thing, thank you.
One thing real quick. I do want to mention, and I did send a picture to the board of the kit, homecoming kits, I guess they're called, that the team put out with our flags in the logo. That did not go unnoticed, and that was really special to be part of the uniforms in that way, to show our three iconic flags in our logo on the soccer jersey. So that was really fun.
Thank you so much. We will now move to Bristol Motor Speedway update. Do we have a representative?
We do, but I have a similar report as last month, in that they are still working through the leases and the financial analysis. So more to come.
Anybody have any questions on that? Okay, moving right along, community impact and Speedway policy discussion and consideration.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Obviously, this has been my standing item for many months to talk about community impact. This is a topic I have returned to often over the last 5 years. And so I thought it would be fitting that I use a few minutes here to announce that this will be my final meeting on the Metro Board of Fair Commissioners. some professional obligations have arisen in the last week that will not allow me to finish out the final month or so of my term. I want to take the chance to thank our executive director for her tireless efforts and her patience. Laura balances many countless demands in her role and performs her job with a lot of grace. And this Fair Board, I hope, will continue to support her. I wanted to thank all of the Fairgrounds staff who have dealt with so much over the past few years. And I also wanted to thank my friends at Metro Legal for all of their wise counsel. Bear with me. This Fairgrounds is at its best when it is a welcoming, diverse expo events, old and new. Welcoming everyone to Fair Park, welcoming local racing fans and local racers, welcoming fairgoers, and soon welcoming Nashville SC and the mixed-use development and all of the hard-fought-for community benefits that come with it. At the same time, what I've found is that the fairgrounds have as much impact on the surrounding neighborhoods as perhaps any other metro property. A few months ago, I heard some attempted populist bluster from a lobbyist declaring the fairgrounds as belonging to Jolton and Antioch as much as the surrounding neighborhoods. And as a core point, the fairgrounds are indeed for all of Nashville. But what people often miss, and whether intentionally or not, is the how. How things are done here have an outsized impact on the surrounding neighborhoods and communities. And so I've looked to engage in the how, because for far too long, the surrounding neighborhoods and communities have not had any voice. I'm very proud over the last year that we have successfully built up the Neighborhood Impact Advisory Committee from just a couple people to a robust group of around 20. And I would implore the Fair Board to lean on NEAC and continue to elevate their voices on all topics, whether it be Nashville SC's coming impact on traffic and noise, or building a Nashville Fair that is diverse and inclusive. And of course, when we talk about community impact, we have to talk about the Speedway. I was able to negotiate 3 racing contracts over the years, including the 2017 contract that was the most ambitious and supportive agreement that the Fair Board has ever entered into. More recently, I've been very happy to see our current promoter, Bob Sargent, put in good work to find common ground between the neighborhoods and the vast majority of the people who race and enjoy racing without wandering into the bad faith rhetoric of those who have grifted off of the fairgrounds politics over the years. We are seeing real progress, finally, in finding some reasonable balance in Speedway operations, just by asking questions, having dialogue, and doing away with some archaic practices that have no financial impact or other impact on our duty to continue racing at the fairgrounds. Because in bringing some balance and putting the surrounding neighborhoods at the table, we are just equalizing the playing field, where racing interests have always had a place at the table. For a decade, Speedway interests, of course, have had their hired astroturfer spreading what, in my opinion, is disgusting and hateful rhetoric, creating a toxic environment and attempting to stifle real community feedback. And of course, when previous racing promoters violated their contracts, a cadre of council members were quick to run to their defense regardless of the facts. Most recently, we have seen SMI being represented by the high-priced lobbying and PR team known far and wide for their talent in procuring massive Metro handouts for their corporate clients, while also demonizing community impact and obscuring the negative community impact of their clients' activities. And finally, this mayor's office has confirmed to me that it is regularly meeting with some of his closest political supporters who are aligned with racing interests as to details of this new Speedway proposal. Who's missing there? Besides the full Fair Board, of course, is the surrounding neighborhoods, the communities who haven't been at the table. And I hope the Fair Board demands better than that going forward. As we sit here at this present moment, the proposal for the new Speedway facility is again mired in delays. And for very good reason. The present structure of that proposal is grossly financially irresponsible, creating a black box of a facility that needs to feed itself with non-guaranteed revenue, and revenue that itself is based on highly questionable revenue projections. This proposal would isolate the Speedway as an island from the rest of the campus, damaging the fairgrounds budget in the process. And this proposal lacks any concrete community protections or accountability, and is loaded with loopholes which would roll back all of the progress that has been made over the last 5 years. And worse yet, Bristol has concocted a deeply cynical set of community commitments that are nowhere near true community benefits. The current shortcomings and failings of this proposal are far too long for me to list here today, but I intend to continue shining a light on those facts to each of you commissioners going forward. I saw a quote in that recent Nashville Scene article about the fairgrounds that seemed to dismiss those kind of concerns as maybe hyperbole or emotional. And I think that, you know, if you characterize facts as hyperbole, it means maybe that you don't understand the facts. And as for emotions, I would question, since when is emotion a bad thing? Since when is speaking up a bad thing? And I have seen a lot to be concerned about here. The discussions with SMI have been conducted in secret, with SMI making vague public assurances while conducting themselves quite differently in private. The draft agreements, including the one circulating right now, would substantially increase racing hours, increase race days, and more than double track rental activity. Those are the facts. And as for Bristol's two faces when it comes to community impact, besides all of the half-truths I've been told directly over the last 3 years, there's perhaps no greater example of this behavior than something I saw the day after our May public hearing, when Bristol was promising that they cared about community impact. On that day, I noticed a really grotesque tweet pop up in my Twitter feed. And I noticed that it had been liked by the CEO of SMI, Marcus Smith. And I'm handing out some copies for my fellow commissioners so they can see what I saw. You see an individual tweeting that they can't wait for the noise from NASCAR's return to be so loud that it physically harms a local resident and the resident's pet. The CEO of SMI thought that that would be the right message to elevate and put on display to his 10,000 plus followers at that moment. I had to be the one to tell the SMI's team to have this taken down. Do things like that make me emotional? You're damned right they do. Again and again and again, SMI has acted in bad faith in these long-running discussions. And that has been what has been driving my concerns and my skepticism. And I have to say, I'm likewise disappointed in the administration's efforts thus far. I was horrified when I met with former Chair McAnally and heard her description of last year's closed-door negotiations with the mayor's office and SMI, which were steeped in intimidation and threats. We should be concerned about things like this. We should speak up and demand better from our city and our leaders. We should be emotional. There was another quote in that Nashville Scene article that seemed to suggest maybe this fair board should ultimately just vote on the proposal as is, as it's received, and let Metro Council work out the details. Taking that path would only serve the interests of SMI, who would then immediately tell Metro Council the opposite, that everything had been extensively vetted by the fair board. I know this playbook because we've already heard Bristol's lobbyists laughably describe their vague outreach efforts as like the greatest feat in human history or something. The truth right now is, at this moment, this is a very bad deal, not a good deal, and certainly not one of those better deals that we have been promised by this administration. And SMI has not done any of the work yet to show that they deserve to join this community or the fairgrounds. And for all of those failings, this deal is still fixable if we adhere to the same standards we held Nashville SC to, which is something I know I've heard my fellow commissioners say they are committed to in the past. This fair board will only see this deal become viable if you force some honesty from SMI and the mayor's office, if you require some attention to priorities other than maximizing SMI's profits, and you introduce some true public engagement to this process for the first time. And I would remind this board, again, that this is not our only option. The Fair Board has tried for years to explore a true renovation of the current facility that allows local racing to continue and creates the ability to have other uses for things like the Nashville Fair. I encourage the Fair Board to keep this in mind because recent history has shown that this fairgrounds is better. And really, I think this city is better when it's making plans together, not in secret, not being crafted by gross lobbyists and political insiders, and certainly not because this city runs upon the bullying proclamations and petty whims of any one person. Nashville is having a reckoning right now about who we are, who we want to be, what equity looks like, what justice looks like, where we spend our resources, and how high of a bar we set for companies that want to come here looking to profit handsomely off of our prosperity. So many of those issues are way bigger than what we are dealing with here at the fairgrounds. But that doesn't mean what you commissioners will be doing doesn't have a significant impact on people's lives, and can also send a message about how and inform how we then come together and tackle those bigger issues. So I would just ask my fellow commissioners to listen, to do the work, and to not skip out on your duties, no matter how much some might suggest you should along the way. I appreciate your patience. I appreciate your time listening. And in honor of what I hope will not be the last time the community impact agenda item is on this Fair Board agenda, I'd make a request that we have a little bit of robust discussion about what real community protections look like in a Speedway proposal. Thanks very much.
Anybody have anything else? Jasper?
Yes, so, Jason, thank you for your service, and thank you for your words. I actually flew in today just because, I received a call a couple of weeks ago that I had to get a couple of people straight. I mean, I don't know if people think, and I understand your sentiments, but the thing is, I think people need to understand that I've been in the fight for a long time. And so no matter how many calls I get, no matter how many emails I get, no matter what people think about me, I just want to let you know, I was looking forward to working with you. And so I am deeply saddened today that you are leaving, because I was looking forward to standing by your side. And I'm going to say I flew in. I spent the weekend in Selma, going over, with the bridge crossing and thinking about all of the work that people have fought so hard for rights and before me, and to be able to stand there, I had a moment of reflection, and then I remembered that, those same people that made those phone calls, that tried to get people to get me in line, to tell me to not ask questions, to not challenge and not ask for more, that I believe that this city deserves, that this county deserves. I had to remember that in 1998, I was arrested at the Supreme Court, protesting the lack of minority law clerks with some of our civil rights leaders. In 1999, a law clerk was selected by Justice Breyer. Her name was Katanji. And then now I look at March 21st, she will be having her first hearing. And I think about that time from 1998, when I was a sophomore in college, and stood with Julian Bond and C. Dolores Tucker and some of our other civil rights heroes and that are no longer with us. I feel that today I've realized that at that moment this weekend, that this is my time to stand up for my community. And I'm claiming Nashville as my community because Nashville claimed me. So I stand with you, and I'm talking to everybody here that I am not going to stand by this, and I'm not the person to be talked to. So I don't know who the message needs to get to, but if you want to and you think that you can harm me or you can say something to me and ask me to do whatever it is, you better come correct, because I will not. I got on a plane just to come here today to send this message. And I'm glad you spoke up. Because it is not right, it is not fair, and this is not the best way to show our city. It is not what I expected. I had heard, and I was like, no, maybe, if people come together, no. So Jason, I am truly deeply saddened that you will no longer be with us. But I understand. I've seen those messages too on social media. I try not to be on social media as much because I know what it can do and some people, how they may feel. And so to protect myself and my sanity because of all the work that I am doing outside of this board, is a lot. I try to stay, I've stayed away from it because I've seen, that people can be ugly and nasty. But to receive that phone call a couple of weeks ago, yeah, I'm not the one. So, but thank you for your service.
Appreciate your comments, Commissioner Hendricks. I'll keep reaching out. There's a lot of facts that everybody needs to know, and I've been there with you on that. The tone from those quarters. I think I received a personal threat from one of those astroturfing gentlemen last year, and and told them as such. And it's wrong what's been happening. And at the end of the day, all we need to do is bring the community to the table. There are fair solutions here, but some people are being excluded. So I appreciate your comments.
I want to pile on here for just a second and share that you have offered an important voice to the process. You've embraced difficult subjects, and you have presented them with candor. And there's a lot to be said for that. And your voice is going to be missed on this Fair Board, and I hope you're not a stranger to this Fair Board and to these proceedings, because I find your a breadth of knowledge and expertise to be pretty invaluable. So we will miss your voice for sure. As to anybody that intimidates or threatens a member of this Fair Board, goes without saying that it'll backfire. And I don't think anything else needs to be said. We're going to move on.
Could I just finish with one reminder for my Fair Board members?
Absolutely.
Track rentals, 3 to 7 p.m. only at all times. They should be less than 15. That's fair. And to see the loopholes continue on that, I'm going to keep saying it over and over again, and I'll say it one final time to you guys. 3 to 7 p.m. at all times, less than 15. Please remember. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments?
I just have a question. It's not related to this.
Sure.
It's just related to an email that we received, and I'm sure everybody else received it. And so I had questions about policies and procedures to prevent that from happening again, or if we're looking into that, has that ever happened before? And what is the proper response to constituents?
I think at this point, I'm going to turn it over to Alex because he can address that quite frankly.
Okay.
So I haven't seen the subject email that we're talking about here, but if there's ever anything where you feel like there's some type of personal threat, please send that directly to the legal department, and we can provide you with some guidance on that and how to handle that. And when it comes to responding to constituents, of course, there's no limitations on your ability to communicate with people who communicate with you. Whether or not it's advisable under certain subjects, that's a different question. But if you ever feel like there's some type of threat in a communication, we'd ask you forward that on to the legal department. So
I think Commissioner Hendricks may be referring to the email we received from a council member about a vendor at a show this weekend. Yeah, just clarifying.
Sorry, a misunderstanding.
You good? I'm good though with that. I can take a threat.
Okay. Understood. We've actually addressed that. We looked into that this weekend. We've given some advice to the staff, and we've just as far as the subject matter related to the email, but we haven't had any communications related to the whoever sent the email. We addressed the subject matter of what was being addressed in the email.
I noticed it came from the response. There was a response from someone else, but not a Fair Board. It was like a foundation chair. But how do we respond if they, if she emailed us? I want to make sure that she received the proper response.
It's in Metro Legal's hands, and they're going to handle it. So any other conversation with her needs to be directed to Alex.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
You want to add anything? No, that's it. Okay. You want to add anything? Okay. All right. With all old business being concluded, we're going to move to new business, and we're going to open the floor for a general discussion of the Fair Board schedule. There have been some requests from the community as far as potentially moving the time of the meeting from 8 in the morning to 4 in the afternoon. The day of the week has not been addressed, and I just wanted to throw that open for general discussion to see what makes sense. The option to table this until we have a full slate of commissioners might make even more sense. So I'm going to open up the floor for conversation. I'm looking at you.
Well, I do record a podcast on Tuesdays at 4, but it does work for me. I can move it. This is service that I'm dedicated to being here. So I am, pretty flexible as long as I know ahead of time. I can plan my schedule because, I'm the executive director of a national organization, so I travel a lot. I 4 o'clock will work for me. I can just work with my producers to shift the recording time if it's on Tuesday,
Well, I'm going to entertain a motion to table this until at least the next meeting if we have a full slate, and then if we need to table it again, we can.
Okay, Madam Chair, I move that we table this discussion until we are able to have a full body.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. We're going to reconvene on this topic. Is there any more business? Seeing none, I would like to take a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Motion to adjourn.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Meeting is adjourned. Thank you for coming.
This has been a service of the Metro Nashville Network. If you would like to see this presentation again, or for more information on this and other programs, visit nashville.gov.